Hi, everybody. And I'd like to welcome Professor Andrea Schneider, Marquette University Law School. Welcome, Andrea, and thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And Andrea, I'd like to talk to you about the topic of aspirations in negotiation, how they affect negotiations and how we can work with them.
Great. Okay, so I think aspirations are one of the most important parts of negotiation, and often they are undersold. We prepare our students to think about interests, and we ask them to think about what they want. And if we don't actually crystallize those into aspirations and think about how we set them, how we go for them, it really doesn't matter what else we do in the negotiation, because we won't go and achieve our goals. So as we look in a negotiation, there are three different elements of an aspiration that I think we should be thinking about. One is that they should be optimistic. Mm-hmm. You really need to set your aspirations high. Yeah. If you want to play it safe your whole life and you never want to be disappointed, you can set very safe, aspirational, minimal goals for any negotiation. But on behalf of a client and on behalf of yourself, you should really be thinking about high aspirational goals. Right. Not unrealistic, but optimistic.
And well, that seems like a tricky balance, but first of all, I mean, I assume that most of the people watching this course are for the most part, thinking about setting them for themselves, and that brings us into this kind of, a bit of a self-conflict, as you said, like, right. How high can I say? What can I?
Right, and so it's an interesting balance. The next element of an aspirational goal is to think about making it justifiable. And for many people, this is where you're able to achieve that balance, because you want it to be optimistic and you want it to be something that you can explain, that you can justify to yourself, to your boss who you're negotiating with, or whomever it is that you're negotiating. Right? We know when somebody asks for pie in the sky, we don't take them seriously. We might respond angrily with an equally low counter. There's all sorts of bad behavior that happens if we're kind of crazy in our aspirations. So thinking about doing your research in advance and understanding what is fair, what is justifiable, accomplishes two goals. One is that it makes you able to explain it to somebody else. Yeah. This is why I deserve my salary raise. Here are what similarly situated people are being paid, or this is the rent that I should be paying on my apartment based on the neighborhood. Right, all of those kinds of things. So it's justifiable to the person you're negotiating with. It's also justifiable to yourself.
You don't feel like,
I can't believe I'm
going to say this.
Right, because I think in the end, accomplishing your aspirations has a lot to do with confidence. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that internal, I'm going to ask for this, I deserve this, I should have this, it's fair, here's why, you're not putting together your arguments in as persuasive a manner as you could.
Inside and outside.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. So it makes it internally consistent. Yeah. Because that's really one of the hardest things in aspirations. I can stay here and say, right, here's what they need to do. Yeah. And we see time after time that people just don't open their mouth. Right.
We walk in, we imagine before the negotiation, wouldn't it be great if I got a 150% raise in my salary? Right. But we don't go into the room and say, I would like 150% more.
Right. Right. Yeah. And if you are actually being underpaid that much, right, you should be saying that to somebody. You should be asking for it. You should be explaining it. Right. Absolutely.
But the same goes for whatever, a 5% gap or 10%.
Any of those, exactly.
If you want something, it sounds like what you're saying basically is, you're not going to get what you don't ask for. So figure out how to be able to put it out there.
Right.
Justify it.
Right. And the third part that's really important in terms of setting your aspirations is that it should be specific. So you and I have been using examples that are pretty specific. I want this much of a % increase, or my rent should be X amount of dollars. Sometimes we go into a negotiation and we say, well, I'll just see how I do. Or I want to do well. Yeah. Or I hope they like my work. Or whatever kind of vague blah, blah, blah. And I joke, this is kind of like setting New Year's resolutions that, I want to lose weight. Well,
Okay.
good luck on that one.
Right.
Right. If you don't actually say, I am cutting my smoking down by 3 cigarettes a day, or I am going to count calories, or exercise this much, or whatever it is,
Specific.
you need it
Specific.
to be
Yeah.
specific. And the psychological research, and there's tons of research to back this up, really talks about how it's that specificity that is needed in order to engage our brains in the way that's necessary to accomplish our goals. It makes us more patient. We say, oh, well, I'm supposed to lose weight and it's going to take me these many
Right.
months, and okay, I understand that 10 pounds in week 1 is highly unlikely.
Right.
It again, with a negotiation, makes us more patient. It makes
In
us
the
more,
process.
in the process.
We don't expect them to say yes to our high aspiration, but
Right.
it might help us stay in the chair and be willing to hear their lower counteroffer and travel the distance.
Exactly. And it makes us more persistent, right? Because we've now set a nice goal. We know where we want to get to,
Yeah.
right? It's like running a distance.
Right.
You know where you're going
Right.
to, and so you persist in
Right.
order to get there. Again, when you have a vague kind of,
I'm going to run for a while.
nah,
Then you can, any point
Right.
is okay as
At
an
any
exit.
point,
But if it's a
exactly.
5K, then there's a sign at the end of it. Have you reached the
Exactly.
sign? Have you not?
right. And those two elements, the patience and persistence, are really important in part of making this a conversation. I mean, really the key to accomplishing your aspirations is not only to set them, you've got to ask for them,
Right.
and then you've got to stay in the game, as we said, to,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
really be able to hear. Very rarely do we ask for someone and somebody says,
Sure,
here.
right.
That would be great. That is awesome. More likely, it's a conversation. It's a
Right.
give and take, and you need that kind of wherewithal to sit still, be patient, let them come back, and then have your counter arguments, which of course you've researched in advance and you know how to justify what you're asking for.
That sounds very important, because even if we have gone the route that you suggest, in other words, the optimistic, the justified and justifiable, and the specific, it's very hard to stay in the chair. In other words, even if we have done all of that and we've actually sat down and, as you say, we've actually voiced it and asked for it. So if the other party says no, then very often we can let ourselves off the hook by saying, well, I paid my debt to myself, I was true to myself, I asked for it. And then we say, okay, fine, thanks for trying, but...
Right. And to me,
Yeah.
right, if you've gone through all of the effort of that
What a good point.
preparation,
Yeah.
how frustrating to just
Right.
get up after somebody says no. No is not the end of the world. If you're a professional, people are going to say no to you as often as they say yes. Deal with it.
So
Get
part of
over
that-
yourself.
Part of aspiration setting includes like
Okay.
applying some glue to the seat of your pants and saying, this is my aspiration and I know that I'm going to need a tube of glue to get me anywhere, anywhere near there.
No is the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah.
So explain to me why no.
Right.
Tell me why this is difficult for you to do right now.
Right.
Tell me why this doesn't sound right to you or doesn't sound fair. And remember, in the end, people love to talk about themselves.
Right. So that's
So-
why you say no, or what would make you say yes to, again, maybe perhaps tossing the aspiration in again just to keep it
Right. What would it
alive,
take
yeah.
to accomplish that?
Right.
What else do I need to know? There must be information out there that's leading them to say no to you.
Right.
What is it? And
Okay.
you're setting your goals and opening the conversation is the opening.
Right. It is not the
It's a
entire conversation.
Right.
Well, it takes so much energy for many people just to initiate the conversation. I think what you added in, that if you do feel that that is so much energy for you and it's so much investment and it's hard and you really have to work in order to bring it, then another way you can respect that investment is not just to say, well, I asked for it, so I've respected that, but it's to say, I've asked for it and I'm staying in the chair, and that's, repaying that debt to yourself of your investment.
Right.
Okay. Well, fascinating, and I'm sure that was very helpful to many people out there who are now going to say, okay, so I'm going to go out there and set aspirations that were, first of all, I'm going to set them, and I'm going to set them perhaps a little higher than as you said, that's kind of a good thing. And I'm going to apply some glue and see if I can stick there until I get closer to them.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Andrea.